Good day, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending upon where you are in the world at this time. I want to welcome you to our webinar today on the reopening of the elementary at AES for kindergarten through grade 5. I'm going to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Charles Bellamy. I will be the new elementary principal next year at AES. I'm coming to you from Texas, where I've been for the last 4 years. My wife, Michelle, will be joining me. She'll be working in the elementary school. My daughter, Eliza, will be a grade 11 student in the high school. I have had a few international stops along the way. I spent 3 years in Budapest, Hungary as the elementary counselor, spent time in Hangzhou, China as an assistant principal there. And I was a principal at the American School of Yaoundé in Cameroon before we came home to Texas. My family is extremely excited to join such a great community, and I just look forward to meeting you all in person soon. And so I'm going to go ahead and take care of a little housekeeping before we get started on our webinar. And so the chat is disabled. We will use the Q&A today to post questions. We're going to ask you to put one question at a time and wait for that question to be answered. If everyone is posting multiple questions consecutively, it'll be very difficult for us to get to all the questions and answer those questions. The Q&A feature that you're going to use today, because the chat is disabled, you will find here on your screen. You can click on that, and that will be where you can post your questions as we go along. I have some members of our elementary leadership team here with us today, and at this time, I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scott White. I'm the elementary assistant principal, and this is my 6th year in that role. But this is it'll be going into my 16th year at AES. Me, along with my wife, Melissa, who's a 3rd grade teacher, have been teaching in international schools since 1998. And we've been really fortunate to be able to raise our 3 daughters here at the American Embassy School for the last 15 years. Our daughters will be going into 8th grade and 11th grade, and our oldest will be a 2nd-year university student.
You guys, I'm Kelly Arrington, and I will be one of the elementary counselors. I most recently have been in Minneapolis Public Schools, working at an international school there. So I'm really excited to be joining AES. I will be coming with my husband, Jeremy, who is not a teacher, but he'll join the greater AES community. I previously have been a licensed therapist before transitioning into school, so I'm really excited to bring my experiences to AES and be a part of the community.
Hi, I'm John Stein. I'm one of the new counselors for elementary. I'm new to AES, and I'll be joining with my partner, Carly Anderson, who will also be a middle school counselor. Originally from New York City, born and raised. I'm currently in Sacramento, California, staying with some family. And Carly and our last school was in Jeju, South Korea. It was actually a new school, and I was one of the founding school members, which was really exciting. And before that, I was working in a public special education school in the Bronx.
And hi, welcome. I'm Wendy Geyer. I'm the elementary librarian. This is my 7th year at AES, my 3rd year as the elementary librarian. Prior to this, I was a classroom teacher. And I'm here with my husband and children. My husband's a elementary teacher as well, and I have a 3rd grader and a 5th grader in our elementary school. And I look forward to working with you all this year.
At AES, we have a mission statement that we use to guide the decisions that we make. We use this as our vision of what we think we should be. That is on the screen for you now. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I do want to point out a couple of highlights from it. One of them is we believe that students should have a joyful pursuit of excellence in academics, athletics, arts, and service. We think that if we're doing our job well, that students should want to come to school. They should be engaged. They should be excited about the idea of learning and being a member of a community. We believe that they should become responsible, compassionate global citizens. That is another, core part of our mission statement. And again, this mission statement drives the decisions we make in all areas of the school. In conjunction with that mission statement, we also have some core beliefs. You'll see those on the screen now. I'm not going to read through each one, but I do want to highlight one of those today in light of the current situation in the world and the concept of kids coming back to school. We believe that students should flourish in a community that is caring. We believe that they will flourish in a community that's caring. And we want you to know that we are particularly aware that kids have, been under anxiety, or there's been things going on in the world that don't feel right. We're committed to, when they come back to campus or come back to whatever format of learning that we have, we want to make sure that it's a warm, caring environment where they feel connected to teachers and their classmates. We have a strong sense of building a culture of belonging, so much so that we added this additional statement as part of what we believe is at AES. What we believe about a culture of belonging is that all members of our school community will actively support learners' academic, social, and emotional growth. And a key component of this is that we believe that if we recognize and value the diversity of others in our community, we're all better for that. And so, and we start that by modeling for students. But it is a big part of what we believe, that we want to be a culture of belonging where we're all working together to help our students grow. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Scott, and he's going to talk to you about the elementary goals.
These goals are the things that we want for your children. If you are a parent, returning parent, you've seen these before and you've heard these before. Number one, we want your kids to love coming to school. We want to build an environment that, they enjoy learning, they feel comfortable. As Charles said, that they've made connections with peers and the adults in their life, whether they're in school or online. We want it to be fun for them. This is foundational for everything that they're going to do for the rest of their academic career. So the more that they can, and historically, our kids will tell you when you see them in the hall, they love being here. So that's number one. We want to acknowledge kids for their strengths. We want to see where they are and meet them where they are, and then help them progress. We want them to be intrinsically motivated. We're not a school that gives certificates and stickers. We want kids to love learning and do learning because that's what they're supposed to do. And the reward is in the progress that they're making and the things that they're finding out about and learning more about. Taking risks and making mistakes is such an important part of the learning process. We want kids to do that, whether it's with friendships or with math. If they didn't make mistakes, they wouldn't have to come to school, right? So we encourage this all the time. And in order to develop independence and resilience, they have to take those risks and make mistakes so that they can learn how to do things on their own and develop strategies for getting the job done. And then lastly on here, student-faculty parent partnership. This is super important because none of those groups can function independently. We need to develop strong relationships with kids and with the parents that guide them at home, particularly in an online environment. One of the things that we're doing, if you have been on campus, you know that when we're thinking about a love of learning, and we know that learning is primarily social, and communication and flexibility is extremely important. We're renovating our learning spaces so that students have greater opportunities to connect with different adults and students throughout the day. The photos that you see are from the grade 3 learning space. This summer, we're actively working on the pre-K and grade 2 learning spaces, but your children may come into a newly renovated space like this. And again, it's meant to be, to give students opportunities to learn in different ways, that they're learning in a place that's comfortable for them, that they feel good, and that they can connect with their peers throughout the day. I'm going to turn it over now to our two amazing counselors.
Thanks, Scott. So a part of our social emotional learning that John and I will help support is through all those communities that Scott already referenced. So when we talk about that student, family, and faculty partnership, that's true in our work as well, right? So we have the privilege of supporting the students directly, partnering with the teachers, and ultimately partnering with you as families. One thing that's really important to us is meeting students at their developmental stage, right? So we don't just say, well, you're in third grade, so you need this skill set, or we'll support you in this need. We will match your students wherever they are at. And it's really a beautiful opportunity to bring all of those different communities together to find the best way to support that student.
And with the multiple communities that we support, there are multiple ways that that support looks like. We will provide from afar individual support. We'll essentially be checking in with students on a one-to-one basis. And of course, parents, if interested, and we could collaborate and communicate on some challenges that might arise in this new form of learning. We'll also center our conversations around reflecting on our experiences. I know these are difficult times, and having a person to connect with and to reflect on with is important. And we want to, of course, assess your child's needs and provide support tailored to them. And we could also do this in small group settings. If we see that there's a group of students who are having similar challenges, we could bring them together and have conversations about and give them an opportunity to learn from their peers. And we could also do this, of course, with families and parents, and provide you with some more education or support, because we know that this is also a tasking time for you as well. And we're also available for the teachers, and we want to provide support to class-wide groups, and we will continue to collaborate and communicate with them as well.
And we just want to reiterate that our services and support is ever changing. We're constantly assessing and growing. We want to be as responsive to your students and to you and the greater AES community. We want everyone to feel connected and safe and a part of the community. So in whatever way we can do that, you just be in touch with us and we will help make that happen.
Yeah, and with that said, we have our email addresses on the slide, so please feel free to reach out to us. I know Kelly and I are super excited to be here and to be a part of the community. So yeah, please reach out, and we're really excited to get to know you.
Thank you, Kelly and Jonathan. I want to talk to you for a minute about curriculum, what we believe about teaching and what they need to know, and at a very high level. But I think it's important as parents that you understand some of that right now, and then you'll get greater detail throughout the year as we move through the year. But we believe in whole child education. That includes academics, arts, athletics, and service. It includes social emotional well-being. It includes identifying what their passions are and helping them explore and expand those. We also believe that it's important for our students to have a connection and understanding of our host country. I'll talk a little bit later about one of the programs that we use to do that. But that's part of what we believe, that as a community that's in India, in Delhi, we have a responsibility that our community has a connection and understanding of the community that we live and work in. Our instruction is designed around standards-based curriculum. And what that means is that in literacy, in math and science and social studies, and even in some of the specials, we have a standards-based curriculum where we have identified certain learning outcomes. Oftentimes when we talk about curriculum, we talk about those outcomes and what do we want children to know, and what do we want them to be able to do, and what skills do we want them to have when we finish a certain unit of instruction. Having that sort of clarity around what the outcomes should be allows our teachers to measure growth. We know specifically what we're looking for, and then we assess that in multiple ways, so that, you know, students whose strengths lie in different areas may have multiple opportunities to demonstrate their growth in those standards. But that's the basis of where we start our instruction, is having a clear understanding of what we want students to know, what we want them to be able to do, and the skills that we want them to have. I mentioned earlier that, you know, as part of whole child education is understanding what their strengths and passions are. We refer to these as specials, but we have PE, art, music, we have world languages. And as I mentioned earlier, it's important to us that our students have a connection with the culture that they live in and our host country. So we also have Indian studies. Kids have different strengths, and some kids, their strengths lie in these areas, and we want to provide opportunities to nurture those strengths and have students be able to showcase their strengths and their passions and do things that they love. So we know that in an online setting, which Dr. Torres talked about earlier, this may look a little different than it would in person, but we are planning for, you know, adjusting our instruction to provide the highest quality that we can in these areas as well, even if we're going to be in an online setting. We will continue in whatever setting or delivery mode we have for instruction when we reopen on August 4th. We will continue to provide support to those students who need it in the areas of English language development. If they need learning support, we are still going to provide those services, even no matter what mode of instruction or delivery we have. You've already heard from our counselors, so I won't talk about that a lot. They've kind of explained to you what they're about and what they provide, and we'll have opportunities before school starts to visit with you again and provide you greater detail. We do have a school psychologist on staff that helps guide us and helps us identify the best ways that we can support. And again, at later as we approach the year, we will provide you more detail around that. But the main thing that I want you to feel comfortable with is, as we adjust through whatever mode we have to based on current reality, that we are committed to providing these types of services to kids as we move along. I'm going to turn it back over to Scott and let him talk a little bit about communication.
Thanks, Charles. Homeschool communication is extremely important, particularly to developing those positive partnerships. We want you to know that when we're in session and we're back on campus, you're welcome on campus anytime school is open. So much of the communication that happens between teachers and parents happens informally. You know, we meet you in the coffee shop in the Tiger's Den, or, you know, you're there at pickup and it's possible to have a quick word. But know that you can be in touch anytime, particularly right now, before we launch back into the school year, that you can contact me and Charles or our counselors or Wendy. If you have questions, if you have a need to know or something that you're worried about, please don't ever hesitate to get in touch. We have more formal touch points. On the very first day of school, we have Getting to Know You Day, which is an opportunity for you to let the teacher and the teaching assistant know anything that's really important to you and your family about your child. We have two conference times throughout the year, one in the first semester, one in the second. And then we communicate formally in report card format at the end of each semester. In addition, there'll be, regular communication from your teachers in grade level and from the elementary office. But I think the most important thing is that if you ever have a question or feeling frustrated or want to just confirm some information that you have, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. Wendy, to our library.
Thanks, Scott. We are so excited to welcome you and your children to our library this year. We have a well-trained staff of 5 in our library who are passionate about our school, our students, and our school library. As main goals for your child, we want your kids to enjoy reading and to have fun. And additionally, we support all of our elementary students in developing literacy skills and language in developmentally appropriate ways, both in the library and through collaboration with classroom teachers. We enjoy providing rich read-aloud experiences to your children, and also pride ourselves on providing an abundant number of reading resources, whether digital or physical, to support not only your child, but also you as parents. One of the things our library prides itself on is the personal connections we have with our students. And we make those through class interactions, readers advisory sessions, and general library visits. And while we do love to do those in person, we do those digitally as well. So please be aware that that will still occur. And additionally, we structure library programs to be exciting and interactive so that students do have multiple opportunities to begin to establish a love of books and to promote their critical and imaginative thinking. There are many opportunities throughout the year to involve students, families, and community members through our library programming. We host events both during the school hours and outside of school hours, from decorating pumpkins as book characters to our annual pancake breakfast with the visiting author to grade level related literacy and publishing celebrations. Additionally, our library is open before and after school to students when accompanied by their parents, as long as campus is open. Our biggest library events each year are our author visits and literacy celebrations. You can see that we have multiple offerings of these opportunities for students each year. And these photos are just from our author events last year. The overarching goal with our programming is to provide exposure to and interactions with books, authors, and literature in positive ways. And this can be done in person, and it can also be done digitally. And one of the ways we are supporting our students and our community is through our library checkout via curbside pickup. I do suggest that you take a moment to take a screenshot of this page. And I can also send the web addresses in the Q&A if you'd like to request that. With our current curbside service, parents and students can request up to 10 items per person from either of our libraries, and we also offer digital resources. And we do anticipate continuing this in the new school year as well if campus is closed. Our ebooks are offered online through the Sora app, and your family can have access to our collection of over 2,500 ebooks and audiobooks through this platform. We hope you're planning, or you already are, taking advantage of these services. And I do invite you to email me directly. My email is on this slide if you have any questions or need any help getting this set up. And now I'm gonna go ahead and pass it back to Scott. He's gonna talk a little bit about technology and makerspace.
Thank you, Wendy. Our makerspace is a natural extension of our library, and it's a place where classes, students, teachers, families can go to create. We want students to have this space so that they can extend their learning in ways that are exciting to them, in ways that they can make a difference in someone else's life. You know, through service learning or whatever that might be. Our makerspace offers, you know, everything from hot glue guns to green screens to sewing machines. And so kids can really can get up to a lot in the makerspace. And we want that proximity to the library so that they can go and investigate something that they want to do and then go put it into action in the makerspace. Another extension of the makerspace is technology. And so we have a makerspace tech coordinator that works very closely with Wendy to make sure that we're using technology in authentic ways, that kids are using it for specific purposes, and that it's balanced, right? We have an iPad program in the elementary school from kindergarten through grade 5. We also have iPads available for pre-K as well. We want to make sure that kids aren't on the iPad just for the sake of being on the iPad, but it's intentional, right? They're on their iPad using it for a specific purpose to meet their learning goals. You'll see that again, you know, there are robots there's a great picture of the makerspace at the bottom. As Wendy said, you can come into the makerspace as well as the library on Saturdays, Saturday mornings, with parents supervising, for kids to be able to explore more on their own time. Next, I want to talk to you a little bit about IPOP, which is our after-school activities program. IPOP stands for Individual Power of Passion. Our IPOP program runs on a quarterly basis throughout the year, with upwards of 40 to 50 activities offered during any one quarter. And as you can see in the photos, there's anything from Minecraft to handcraft to swimming, athletics, offered in any given quarter. There is a hope that we'll be able to continue these even if we are online going into the new school year. More information will come out about that as soon as planning is finished. But these are, again, a great way for your kids to explore their interests or find new things that they didn't know that they might be interested in.
Thank you, Scott. So I want to talk a little bit about Campus Connected Learning, which will be our online platform. I know that we've shared a lot of information with you today, and a lot of it was based around what our normal day, our normal programs would look like if we were all on campus. We thought it was important for those new parents and for everyone else to see, what we normally are. We understand that some of these, if we start in an online setting, some of these will not be available or will not be able to have the same form that they had in a person-to-person setting. So, for example, what Scott just talked about with IPOP, we are looking at what we can provide online until kids can come to campus. So we have to adjust. A lot of the work that Scott and I have been doing with the teachers and the faculty has centered around digging through some of the feedback that parents had about their online experience in the spring. And we have identified some things that we felt like were themes that came out of that feedback. And I want to talk a little bit about those and what we're doing to address that and the work that we have in progress. One of the things that came out was sort of the need for a centralized space for for parents to go and collect information about the schedule for that week, about what the kids will be doing, potentially resources that they can use for their kids, the newsletter that we put out. All of that, if we could centralize that in one space for each grade level, and we are working on that. And I'll talk a little bit more about the platform in a minute because it addresses the other things that we heard in the feedback of having predictability in the schedule, having a schedule that is, steady and predictable throughout the week. Those are themes that we heard. Having resources for kids to maybe do things beyond what might be in Seesaw, and giving them opportunities to do other things. So what we've done is we're looking at creating grade level sites that each parent would be able to access for their grade level, where that information would be housed. The schedule for that week would be updated. We wouldn't have to send you an email. You wouldn't have to wait for an email. You could access that sometime Friday evening for the next week and go back to it whenever you wanted to. And it would be in the same place for each grade level. So for each grade level site, you would be able to go and find that information organized in the same way. Another piece that we got was consistency across and within grade levels about communication, about how things are organized. Again, we think the work that we're doing on these grade level sites will provide that opportunity to keep that consistent, for you to know where to go to look for things, and it'll be consistent across and within grade levels. We also know that time zones are a big issue for delivering an online learning system. We're committed to, in an online format, if that's what we're in for however long we're in it, we're committed to ensuring that kids have real-time connections on a daily basis with teachers and with other students. We're looking at ways, potentially through grouping, potentially through the way we structure our schedule, to make sure that kids that might not be in India are still getting that that daily connection to other students and to teachers. As Dr. Torres said, you know, it's, you know, it isn't optimal. It isn't what we all would wish for. But what we're doing is we're looking at structuring this, developing this, and we'll give you more information on the 27th. I'll talk about some opportunities to gather more information. But understand, we all are working towards the idea that one day we're going to be back on campus, whenever that is, sooner rather than later, we hope. But we are building this in a way that it will be a smooth transition and our kids will be where they should be when we go back to campus. Future webinars and information for you, July 15th is now, and that is the one that we're in, and I probably should have fixed that. But on July 21st, we will have a social emotional learning webinar where the Student Support Services Group will talk about how we're going to support kids in that area. On the 22nd, there'll be an EAL webinar, and again, for those students that are mastering the English language, we will talk about how we're going to support them. On July 27th, we will have our pre-opening where we will give you details about a lot that we've talked about will come out in greater detail on the 27th. August 1st, there will be a Setting Up for Success at AES, and on August 3rd, our virtual orientation. And for August 4th, our joyful reopening. On August 4th for elementary, that will be our Get to Know You Day. For our returning students and families, you know that this is an opportunity for each family and student to have some individual time on that day with their teacher, so that the family and student can get to know more about the teacher and the teacher about the student and the family. And then we would move into our normal school structure, whether that be in person, be online, on August 5th. But our August 4th reopening would be our Get to Know You Day. That's the end of our formal presentation. I hope that we've provided you information that's valuable to you, and I appreciate your time, and we look forward and are excited to the reopening on August 4th. At this time, we're going to move to a live Q&A. We're going to spend some time answering those questions that you've posted. But thank you for being here.